Well, tonight, and you notice your papers are a little thinner, I printed it on the front and the back. I figured out how to do that with this printing. I knew how to do a copy, but I didn't know how to do a printing, so.
Wait a minute, we're swapping that.
Okay. We're starting on Numbers 12, chapter 12. Both of these are fairly short, so we'll catch two of them tonight. This is the dissension of Aaron and Miriam. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman. Now this comes, if you remember, right after verse 11, chapter 11, where God moved upon him to have the 70 help him go out and have each one of the group and have 70 elders to help him kind of go over the people. They were what we thought may have been the Sanhedrin. And at the last part of that chapter, we saw that not Miriam, but Zipporah's brother, Moses' brother-in-law, had stayed with them, and Moses had put out and asked him if he would stay with them while they moved. And then they got ready to move, and they started moving. So, if you got to remember, the Old Testament was just, it wasn't divided up into chapters. It was just scrolls. So Numbers 12 came right after number 11. You just jump right in there. So what the commentators saying, what I've kind of thought, is because Aaron and Miriam felt left out, they won part of the 70, and the brother-in-law is now showing them which way to go. Not really. The cloud is leading them. But you know the way people get in their heads things. And Miriam and Aaron, they evidently got it in their head that, well, why in the world is just Moses, getting all the limelight? And they came down on his wife because she was an Ethiopian. Now, there's a couple of thoughts on this. We know Zipporah, who was before they cleared out of Egypt, when he had married of Jethro, it said Jethro was a Midianite. Now, Midianite essentially came from Cush, which is part of Ethiopia, what we would think of as Ethiopia today. So it could have been that because in just a minute it says because she's an Ethiopian woman. Or they do suggest that maybe Zipporah had died and he had married another woman.
Yeah, I read that.
We don't know. It doesn't tell us exactly. But we do know that Ethiopian, I can't say that right, Ethiopian people are in Africa. They're dark skinned. Where Moses, he's not light skinned, what we would say. Jewish people are not white. They're more olive, kind of. They're darker a lot of times than we are. A lot darker than we are, but they're not like an African would be real dark. So they think that was a couple of thoughts on that. Like they said, it could have been Zipporah, it could have been a new wife that he had taken. Anyway, it was derogatory against his wife. They were standing up. That was the reason they gave, even though it wasn't really the reason. Probably. They probably had a little pride in their heart. Okay? They also thought that since Miriam is mentioned first, she was the instigator, and Aaron went along with her. Very well could be. But the woman that Moses had married really had no control over any of that. She was the one that was kind of caught in the middle. Brother Epson, verse 2.
And they said, hath the Lord indeed spoken not spoken also by us in the Lord?
Okay. So, it is true that he spoke to Aaron. Okay, you go down through there and look, in Exodus 4 and 30, he spoke to Aaron, and 12 and 1, he spoke to Aaron. They relate Exodus 15 and 21, what Miriam spoke was inspired by God, and said one other occasion, we'll read here later, in the where we read it last week, 24 and 25 and 11. So, it was true that they had spoken, but for the majority, Moses was the man. Okay? He was the one that God talked to and regularly talked to. So he had the position over them. There were other men in the Bible, of course we see that, Joshua, David, Daniel, James, Peter, Paul, Timothy, Titus. All of these great men were examples of leadership of Christ. And we're told to imitate that, okay, to be Christ's followers. Charles Spurgeon said in a little writing he wrote, every now and then we hear some simpleton or other talking against a one-man ministry, when it has been a one-man ministry from the commencement of the world to the present day. And whenever you try to have any other form of ministry and doing it thoroughly and heartily and independently and bravely in the sight of God, you very soon run upon quicksand. It's like they say, it takes one bad apple to spoil a bunch. I was reading something this morning about the mega church pastors, some of the mega church pastors, and we see in the headlines, because the media wants to portray them in a bad way, everything happens bad, and you get that thought, that's all that happens. But this listed probably 4 or 5 mega church pastors that took their money as far as what they gave them, the salary or whatever they took, and they turned it right back to the church, or they put it into other ministries. They didn't take it for their own selves. That one of them wrote a book, and from the book sales alone, he sponsored children's ministry, orphanage that housed 100 kids for something like that. So we, each one at times we do that. So the people get upset when they see something happening like that. One of the people is Aaron and Miriam. They saw these other 70 that was taking some of the authority. They saw, Jethro's son taking some of the authority. And they didn't think God had enough authority to go around. I mean, that's what it seems to me. And you get that sometimes. So
They didn't figure out God very well, did they?
well, what do people do whenever they start attacking somebody? They try to bring them down.
9 times out of 10, they might try to make themselves look better.
They make themselves look better by bringing somebody else down.
Yeah.
They don't want to make themselves look better by doing more. What they should do is say, well, okay, they're doing this, but look what I'm doing. If they're going playing that game, I'm not saying you should play that game, but okay, verse 3, Iris.
Now the man Moses was very meek above all the men which were upon the face of the earth.
Okay. Meek, as we know, means humble. It means, genuinely, he had not been, for the first 40 years of his life, he lived a privileged life. He was the son of a Pharaoh, basically.
He had everything.
Anything he wanted to. The second half, the next 40 years, all he had was a sheep from his father-in-law that he was taking care of. That was it. That's his whole, he had his family. Yeah, he had his family, of course, there, but he spent 40 years learning, and that's where he found God. God found him with the burning bush out there in the middle of keeping the sheep. So God stands up for Moses here. It said in the first part, chapter, or the verse before, God heard it. And now, this is kind of, it's in parentheses, so they think this may have been added later, but maybe by a prophet later on in time. Some say maybe Ezra added this. Another word for meet can mean troubled. He had a bunch of troubles, I'm sure he did, because he was leading 2.5 million people trying to around in there. So he had more than enough.
I'd be like, Lord, why?
Yeah, and that's why they, pushed it so much. So it said could be understood low or miserable instead of just humble. 4 and 5 on page 4 there, Ruby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, is it 12?
12, yeah.
Right, okay. God's dramatic appearance to Mara and Aaron. And the Lord spoke suddenly to Moses, and then to Aaron, and then to Mara. Come out, ye three, unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And the three came out, and the Lord came down in a pillar of the cloud, and stood at the door of the tabernacle, and called Aaron and Mara, and they both came forth.
Okay. He told them, okay, you want to talk, let's talk. And the cloud that was over the Shekinah glory during the day, it was a cloud. It came out from the meeting place, the mercy seat, because that's where it was. Came out in front of the tabernacle. Wouldn't let them go in, basically. Okay? You three come out here. So Moses came out, Miriam and Aaron came out. And he came down and stood in the midst of them. This cloud did. So so they know it's God. I mean, this is something that's going on. And he didn't wait any time either. As soon as he heard it, he said, okay, don't you hate that when something happens and all right, everybody line up. That's when you're going to get your whooping.
Something's going to
Or
happen.
something, yeah, something's going to happen. So they came out there and they was getting ready to, he was getting ready to correct what was going on. Bertha, the next one, 6 through 9.
And he said, hear now my words, if there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all my house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently not in a dark speeches. And the stimulation to the Lord shall behold. Wherefore they were yet not afraid to speak against my servant Moses, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed.
Okay.
He wasn't too happy with them.
He wasn't happy. He spoke up right away. Why in the world are you talking against them? You don't have any right. And it really wasn't, it was against Moses, but it was against his wife. I mean, they were mad at him because he married this Ethiopian.
Well, they picked on the least one.
They picked on, they didn't want to pick on him directly, but God still didn't see it that way.
Moses wasn't guilty. God was telling him what to do all the time.
Don't you watch when kids are playing and they'll get the youngest kid to come ask the question, the grandma and grandpa or whoever, aunt and uncle. You know the answer is going to be no, but they always get the littlest kid that grandma and grandpa or whoever can't resist to do it. Well, that's kind of what they were, in this particular, he goes, I'm not having any of that. This is the way it is. This is the way it's going to be. And when he said that, he left. Now, what do you mean he left? It left from in front of them and went back into the tabernacle. Okay, went back into the Holy of Holies, because only one man, Aaron himself, could go into the Holy of Holies before that. And he said, look, there's only been one person that has even been close to seeing my face. Okay? No man has seen God. Tells us that later on. But Moses is the closest thing. He told them, if you will set yourself back into the crevice, I will show you my backside. And with that backside, when he saw the backside of God, now we're talking a spirit with our natural eyes. That's hard for us to imagine. Whatever Moses saw, when he came down off that mountain, the people couldn't even look at him because of the glory, that Shekinah that was on him. So, and it may even still be until it was a year later, but it may even been still there. I don't know if he was still wearing his veil. I don't know how long that took. I was of the opinion that it lasted a while, maybe a month or so, but I don't know. So he kind of chastises them, and he leaves. And they thought, he's been faithful, he's done all this to me. You know, he's standing up for Moses, basically. When they were, it says, why are you not afraid to speak against Moses? They, you know, sometimes we got to use our you hear the saying, oh, did I say that out loud? You may think a lot of stuff, but you don't really need to say certain things. And that's what happened. So, what happened, it says 10, and the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow, and Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. Now,
do you think that they even thought that Jesus would reprimand them?
would what? Reprimand them?
Yeah.
Well, they found out.
Or they may not have thought it, and they just wanted they wanted attention.
Well, yeah. God in his infinite wisdom is showing them here.
Yeah.
Now one thing,
I thought to myself, didn't they even think that God made
No, they didn't think. They
talk to them about it?
They thought, well, yeah, if you're giving all this power out, why don't I get a little bit of this? They're seeing it we get this in our earthly minds or our physical minds so easily that we get to a certain place and we think we've earned it. When in most cases, it's by default. You're the least problematic person that's going to give
we're
me.
judging our own self, not letting
Exactly. So many times we get it heady and high-minded, we get prideful, we get all this, we get promotion, whatever. We think we really earned it. And that's what Moses and Aaron and Miriam had in their mind, I guess. I don't know. Now, leprosy, like we said, can take a lot of different things, but the last stages of leprosy is where the skin just turns white. It starts falling off. It's decayed so bad, it just starts falling off. So that's what it says. It came and she was leprous. And it was so bad that it's like everybody was just astonished. Aaron was when he saw her. Okay? 11 and 12, brothers.
This is, and Aaron said unto Moses, alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed, becometh however his mother.
Okay. Interesting. Miriam didn't ask for anything. She was too astonished, I guess. But Aaron was the one that asked Moses. They didn't go to God. Hey, you're the one talking to God. You want God to talk to you, but you didn't go to God. You did. You got in trouble. Now you got to. So they asked Moses to beseech them. Here again, it's representing that she's almost dead. I mean, she by any means. Yeah. And the last part of that is even like a stillborn. When a child is stillborn, it comes out, it's almost white, they say. So that's something that you don't want to deal with. Iris, verse 13.
And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, Heal her now, O God, I beseech thee.
Okay? Pretty simple prayer, isn't it? He cried out for her. Somebody, he hadn't even spoken. He hadn't even talked through this whole thing. Except now. They come running to him. And he says, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words. Oh Lord, I beseech you, heal her now. So, it says when a leader perceives accusations are petty, false, or self-motivated, the right thing to do is ignore them. And that's what Moses was doing. He didn't try to, answer them. He didn't try to back it up. He didn't try to do anything. God answered for him. Well, God answered for him. He didn't have to. So 14 through 16, and the Lord said unto Moses, if her father had but spit in her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days, and after that let her be received in again. And Miriam was shut out from the camp 7 days, and the people journeyed on till Miriam was brought in again. And afterward the people were moved from Hazeroth and pitched in the wilderness of Paran. So God said, even if somebody had spit in your face, the deal for that is to go outside and, be away from them for 7 days. You've done something, terrible, so you need to go. Spitting in people's face was something really bad in the Mideastern world. It's not great today, but it was something atrocious. And here, if her father, talking about Miriam's father, had spit in her face, shouldn't she be ashamed 7 days? If she had done something, against her father, she should have at least spent that amount of time. So he did let her live, but she had to live with that leprosy for 7 days, and she had to be outside. It may have changed back, but she had to be cleansed. That was the rule. They've already established the rules. So, go outside the camp and stay 7 days, come back in and let the priest evaluate you, and then you got to do a sacrifice, and you got to do all this stuff.
That was a punishment.
It was a punishment, and it's open, it's public. She had to go out there, and they're wondering, why in the world aren't we moving? We were supposed to be moving, and we're having to wait on Mary out here. That's what it was. So everybody in the camp knew something was up. They may have not have heard exactly. This sets a precedence, too, for anybody else that wants to come up against Moses and say, look what happened to Miriam. You better.
God using an example.
It was. It was an example for the people,
Pay attention.
for the others. And it's not only for him, but it's for all others. He had put 70 new people into position.
You don't make false accusations.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because you might not like what happened afterwards.
So then they continued on, okay? And it says, then they went on to the wilderness of Paran. They were removed from Hazeroth and pitched in the wilderness of Paran. And that's in the upper northeast part of that Arabian Peninsula. It's going up further north. And that's where they spent a lot of their time, between the two, as we go back and forth as they travel. But this is still, it started, the year has passed, and they've been a few days traveling up north. So it's still, I think, maybe even the second month of the second year. Okay? So now we jump to chapter 13. And this is when the spies, they go up to there and they're ready to go into the Canaan. They're getting ready to go into this Canaan land. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, send down men that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them. And Moses, by the commandment of the Lord, sent them from the wilderness of Paran. All those men were heads of the children of Israel. So God told them, the Lord spake unto Moses and told them, send thou men that they may search the land of Canaan. He's going to send them out. Now, this is a little, he didn't say spy out the land. So many times we see this, spies sent out, but he sent the men out. Okay? We're going to start conquering this land. So he sent the people out, these 12 men, one from each of the tribes, and we're going to name them here in just a minute. Verse in Deuteronomy 1 and 21, Moses said, look, the Lord your God has set the land before you. Go up and possess it, as the Lord God of your fathers has spoken to you. Do not fear or be discouraged. So Moses just told them, go up and take the land. God had promised you.
Yeah.
And then you read 22, it said, every one of them came near to me and said, in Moses, and they wanted to do this, send out the people, send out the land. He told them, go possess it. It's there. Go ahead. Go get your land. If you read Deuteronomy and Numbers both together. And he said, well, okay, I guess you could go out there and check out the land and come back if you want to. So God okays that. He told them to go get the land. That's what he told them to do. Okay, Brother Epson, jump on all those names on 4 through 16 on the next page. And these are the names of the tribe of Reuben: Shammua, the son of Zakur; of the tribe of Simeon, Shaphat, the son of Hori; of the tribe of Judah, Caleb, the son of Jeshua; of the tribe of Issachar, Gilgal, the son of Joseph; of the tribe of Ephraim, Hoshea, the son of Nun; of the tribe of Benjamin, Palti, the son of Raphu; of the tribe of Zebulun, Gadiel, the son of Sodi; of the tribe of Joseph, namely the tribe of Manasseh, Gadi, the son of Sushi; of the tribe of Dan, Amiel, the son of Gemali; of the tribe of Asher, Sether, the sons of Michael; of the tribe of Naphtali, Nabi, the son of Voshi; of the tribe of Gad, Gul, the son of Maki. These are the names of the men which Moses sent to spy out the land. And Moses called Hoshea, the son of Nun, Joshua, Jehosha. He added a J-E in front of his name, basically. Okay? What that means is, Hoshua says, I'm salvation, but Moses added J-E in front of it to make it Jehosha, or Joshua, as we'd say it. That is, Yahweh is salvation. Moses changed his name. So Joshua became his name, and the name of the Messiah, Jesus, is the same thing. Did you know that? Joshua is the same name. It's in the Hebrew, it's same as Jesus. Joshua. Yeshua. Okay, that's the way they say it. Yeshua.
And you're showing salvation.
Mm-hmm. Hosha means I'm salvation, or it is salvation. So we see each man from the tribe. We see Caleb's in there and Joshua's in there. It says Jehosha. We say Joshua, the way it's spelled out. Okay, Iris, top of page 3, 17 and 12 through 20.
And Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, and said unto them, Get you up this way southward, and go up into the mountain, and see the land, what it is, and the people that dwelleth therein, whether they be strong or weak, few or many, and what the land is that they dwell in, whether it be good or bad, and what cities that they dwell in, whether in tents or in strongholds, and what the land is, whether it be fat or lean, whether they be wood therein or not. And be ye of good courage, and bring of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of the first ripe grapes.
Okay? So Moses sent them out into the land. So we're going across Jordan now. They're on the east side of Jordan, going across Jordan into what we would consider Canaan, into that land, and they actually go out and kind of go north and come back around and come back down the coastline and come across. That's what we'll see here in just a minute. So they searched out all this land, and they said this was entirely reasonable pursuit for Moses and the representatives of the curiosity of the whole nation, because they hadn't seen this land for almost 400 years. Remember, they left, Isaac and his family left and went down to Egypt. So they didn't know what this land dealt with. And I've told you guys a few times, when we went over there, it's amazing. I don't know if it was the same as it was then, but it's amazing. Their fruit, their vegetables and everything that they have are huge. They had carrots. They were carrots that was huge, big around like that. Watermelon, everything they had. Dates, gosh, they were big old dates off the fig tree, the palm trees, and all the fruit that they had just walking up and down the sidewalks in Jerusalem and seeing this fruit. It is amazing how huge this is and how fertile that land. It's a desert, and how fertile it is. How rich it is, seems like. And they find that out. And it says the first ripe season, it goes on down. I don't think it was in this commentary, but another one, that it was about September-ish. They think it was about the time of the second. The grapes have 3 harvests, they said, and the first is in August, I think it was, second in September, and last in October. Maybe off a month, I'm not sure, but it was the second of the harvest. These grapes were starting to come off of this time. So it should have been a great time for them to go. It had told them back in Exodus, it told them this was going to be a good land, a large land flowing with milk and honey. And that's what they were going to see, wanted to see. Okay, so they came back, verse 21 through 25. Ruby, you want to read that? It's down to page 3, bottom of 3. That's all right.
So they went up the second one from the wilderness of Zin and to Rehoboth, as men came to Hamath, and they descended by the south, and came in Hebron, were Ahaman, and Shihah, and Talmon, the children of Anadreth, were. Now Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. They came into the brook of Eshcol and cut down from him a branch with a cluster of grapes. And they bare between two upon a staff, and they brought the pomegranates and the figs, and the place was called the brook of Eshcol, because the cluster of grapes which the children of Israel cut down from him. And they returned from searching of the land after 40 days.
Okay, so they took a good while. They took 40 days to go out and search the land. 40 days. That seems to reoccur. That's happened more than once so far. Yeah, it's a number that you need to watch in the Bible whenever it says 40 days. It rained for 40 days and nights. other things like that, goes back and forth. So they went, for 40 days, they went out and checked the land out. They brought back fruit that they could show the people. The grapes was so huge that they had to carry it. 2 guys had to carry between a rod between them. They brought pomegranates, they brought figs, they brought all these things back to the land. So if you stop right there, it's like, boy, they're ready to go get them, aren't they? They're ready to go take the land. It is, going to be prosperous for them. Okay, 26 through 29. Bertha.
And they went and came to Moses and to Aaron and to all the congregation of the children of Israel and to the wilderness of Paran to Kadesh, and brought back word unto them and to all the congregation and shewed them the fruit of the land. And they told him and said, we came into the land whither thou sent us, and surely it floweth milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. Nevertheless, people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there, the Amalekite dwell in the land of the south, and the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Ammonites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and by the coast of Jordan. Pretty good considering that we are the tongue-tied.
Yeah. There were people there. They were afraid of the people when they saw it. They saw that the land was, now it's not.
They liked the land, but they were afraid of the people.
They wasn't. They had plenty of food there. Plenty, it looked like there. Now it wasn't flowing milk and honey. That's a saying. But there was plenty of food there, it looked like. The people were big. The people of Anak, they were tall. We learned later on. They were somebody to be dealt with. The Canaanites, it was by the sea. That's where the Goliath and his crew came from. So we know there was, and there wasn't just dwelling in tents. So the 10 of the 12 evidently had a poor report. It's a good report as far as, but they were just telling them that, well, yeah, it was like you said, but I don't know about going over there and taking the land. It's like they started backing up on everything. God had given them, He had promised them this. He'd already taken care of Egypt. He'd already taken care of feeding them for, a year with water and with manna and big quail and all those things, but He can't help them take care of the land. When God tells us to do something, we probably better do it, because when we don't, we get in trouble. You'll find either somebody else to do it or we'll miss out. Both. That's what it is. Verse 30 says, and Caleb stilled the people before Moses and said, let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. That is Caleb. Now we don't read anything about Joshua, but we also hear a little later on, Joshua was Moses' assistant. Sometimes you don't want to speak, like I said before. And at that particular time, everybody would have thought that he was, just because he's Moses' servant, he wants us, or not servant, but his speaker, his friend, he would chide with him, chide to go for him. But we know that him, Joshua, and Caleb both were ones later on, as it writes through the rest of the books. They were the ones that stood up.
Evidently, Caleb believed there wasn't a fear.
He wasn't afraid of them. And also, Caleb was of what tribe? You remember? Judah. He was of the tribe of Judah. Judah is one that they let Judah take the lead in stuff. Because one, it's the largest tribe. You go back and see how many people was in the tribe of Judah versus, and that's what Joshua did. Joshua wasn't of the tribe of Judah. So he kind of stepped back a little bit and said, okay, let's go tell them what you saw, what we can do. And I'm sure Joshua was the same opinion. He wanted to go do what Moses told him to do. 31 through 33. But the men that went up with him said, we be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, the land through which ye have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof, and all the people that we saw in it are men of great stature. And there we saw the giants, the son of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, so we were in their sight. So they're putting themselves down. What they saw, what they thought, what they felt like. Now I won't say none of it's true. The land wasn't eating up the inhabitants. Okay?
They went by their feelings and not by trusting the Lord.
That's right. They tried to throw everything in front of it that they could. The men there, they're great. They're big, tall people. Oh boy, we can take care of them. We're just like ants compared to them. Well, there's a difference between an ant and a man.
That shows the unity.
An ant you can punch out with your finger. I know that the Jewish people kind of in general are not as tall as some of the other people, but still, back then, they would have been, about the same average, maybe a little shorter than what we are today, and I know it looks
They
good.
were outnumbered. There were more numbers of them than there were the giants.
Oh, we see that. Well, it's not so much in numbers. We see a little later on. Okay? God has the numbers. He has a lot. He has 660,000 fighting men. He's already numbered those. And that's probably greater than any of them. That's a big army right now. That's bigger than, I think, Iran. I was going through all that the other day, and I think Iran and Hezbollah and Hamas and all of them, it's not that many people. They don't have that many. I think the only people that probably have that many is China.
That day they signed their death warrant.
They did.
Because they give up for 40 years. There you go again. 40 years. Nobody 40 and older would
Inhabit the land, except Joshua and Caleb. That's right. Even Moses did. I mean, of course, he's not to that point yet, but he gets mad too here in a little bit. And so we see that they're still not. Seemed like for a good while they were okay when they were intense and not doing anything.
Well, they had to go fight, yeah.
But when they started moving, then they get a little upset. Start griping about the food, griping about that here in a little bit. They'll gripe about water and all the, everything. They just start griping.
Staying here isn't so bad after all.
Well, they wanted to go back to Egypt, So, all right. I appreciate y'all coming out tonight.
Appreciate you. I will take Ruby home and be back.
Okay. I'll probably still be